A nice fade, James. Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard. We are in the second week of February, and welcome to everyone. Welcome to my trading buddies, and hoping there is a good week ahead. The week closed out, of course, last week with the non-farm employment change. My trading buddies, and hoping as there is. I've got an echo in my head. Wonder why that is. No, it's gone. Thank God for that. And anyone else who's responsible. Yeah, NFP number, former NFP number, was pretty well received by the markets, and we saw a little bit of dollar interesting price action, I've got to say. Let's take a look at that, shall we? Oh, no, we'll go straight to the pound, and I'll come back to that. I want to have a talk about that, actually. So let's go straight to the pound. Rightio. Look, I think we've got a chance today on the pound, frankly, and I'll tell you why. That's the dollar index, not the pound. Thank you, James. Leave at your discretion, and I will take control. That's scary. Pound, US dollar, right? Here's why. I think if we break to the downside, well, let's put this in perspective, shall we? Basically, we're trading Friday's bar. There's no question about that, because we haven't gone lower, we haven't gone higher thus far today, and therefore we're trading Friday's bar. Now, my contention would be, if we break to the low side of Friday's bar, there's plenty of room to get first take profit down to here, certainly. We probably want to be taking it around about that level. We may have to reduce our one-to-one just a tad to get that. If we break to the high side, I think we'll probably take on this high. And there is room to do that as well. So let's take a look at that. So risk would be in the vicinity of 115 pips. You've got 130 to the high there. So I think we could get a TP1 if this does break to the high side. If it breaks to the low side, then, like I said, we might have to squeeze our TP1 up a little and take it there at 65 odd pips, or leave it in the market till we get to there to get our one-to-one. We can probably micromanage that in need. So I'm inclined to take this today. So I shall. And actually, I haven't got the right account to trade this on. I'll trade it on this account. It's okay. So let me give you the levels that we're going to trade at. Now, those of you who haven't traded this before, or haven't seen me trade this before, this is still not a proven strategy. So just be very, very careful if you are going to follow this and trade it at virtually no risk. And what I mean by that is, don't put any meaningful money on the table. So I'll give you the levels anyway. I'm going to trade it like 0.1, right? So until it's proven to be a successful strategy, I don't wish to put any meaningful money on the table. All right, so the entry level will be, there's the high of Friday. It's at 136.15, let's say. So we'll go 5 above there and call it 136.20. So that will be our entry for the long. 0.1 is tons, like I said. There's no need to put an expiry on this. That's on the 7th. We'll go to the 10th, say, because it's a breakout, right? There's no time limits. Go to there. Forgotten the number already. 136.20. Kind of rings a bell. Yeah. Okay, we'll go with that. 1.3620 will be the breakout to the high side. Stop loss will also be the entry for the short. And it looks very much like that's going to be 3 pips under 135.04. So that would be 1.3501. So that's going to be our stop loss for the long, and our, I should have put this on OCO, shouldn't I? OCO, shouldn't I? We got time to do that? let's do that. For those of you, and I'll cancel that. For those of you who have got a trade manager, then here's how you go about doing that. You bring up this box by clicking on there, the little smiley face, and the first thing you're looking for is to enable OCO, which is here. Enable OCO is defaulted at false. We'll make that true. And we want to buy on the break of the high. No, we don't. We want to buy on the break of the level that we chose. Buy on the break of buy entry level 1. That's what we want. So we change that from false to true. Buying at entry level 1, and we put the level in, which was 1.3620. I'm back to being able to remind the elephants. Awesome. And the stop loss, the level, we put in the level, 1.3501. Okay, now we don't need to do too much more at this stage because we manage this. We can put in TP1. TP1, where's that? Here we are. Enable TP1. Yes, we want. True. And we'll just go with 1-to-1, right? Proportional target is 1.0. And proportion to close is nothing, but we do move our stop loss to entry. Stop loss. Enable stop loss on TP1, yes. True, and goes to 0. Now we go back up here and do exactly the reverse of that for entry level 2. So entry level 2, we want to sell. So we go true. And then we put in the entry level, which is 1.3501, and the stop loss level 2 is 1.3620, and everything else should be the same. TP1 should still be 1-to-1. And like I said, we'll probably micromanage that in need. Well, I can't imagine that will be the case today, but I'll post it in the Telegram group for those of you who are in the Trading Buddies Telegram group. That's all we need to do. And okay, so it's going to ask me if I want to buy at entry level 1. Yes, I do. And it's also going to ask me if I want to sell at entry level 2. Yes, I do. Okay, so now oh my God, fathers. How can you read that? You can't. So let's change the text color so we can actually read it. That blue color doesn't hold sway. Yellow might. Buy at entry level 1, yes. Sell at entry level 2, yes. There we go. That's a bit better. All right, so we are trading the breakout today. Look, it is dangerous trading into this high. There's no question about that. But I think if we get clear of that and the low, we've got plenty of room for profit on the up or downside. That may well not trigger for 2 days. Who knows? Not a lot of news about this week, that's for sure. Last week, we had a plethora of it, and the market did bounce about a bit. I hope you got something out of it. I didn't have too many trades. In fact, I only had 1 trade, didn't I? G'day, Lewis. G'day, Paul P. You cannot make today. Oh, John. Okay, mate. Cheers, mate. All good. Okay. Too easy, mate. Too easy. Thank you. Got the messages. And hello, Lewis. And hello, Ash.
Hello, mate.
You well?
Oh, do you know, mate, my system's turned up. I'm in just better shape all round. It's brilliant.
Better than a laptop, that's for sure.
Yeah, they did yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, the laptops, you know, it's ironic, really, because the laptop has served me really well, but I think that's just looking at charts a lot. So you end up being able to kind of do it off a laptop. But I have felt that, you know, slightly shackled by the laptop.
Something's missing, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've got my. I bought a nice big wide screen. You know, one of those ultra wide screens.
Yeah, you're telling me.
Yeah, so and I haven't been able to set it up, but now I've got the new system and I've got the ultra wide screen up, and you know, I'm back to the visual kind of aspect that I need, you know, because I've basically, the reason I bought the widescreen is because I didn't want so many screens, you know, because it accounts for pretty much 3. So you know, I've managed to get rid of most of my screens. So now I've got 2. I've got ultra wide and then another relatively wide one as well.
Well, that's good. You now don't have to look in so many directions, I suppose.
No, oh mate, it's brilliant.
I've got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, that's you know, that sounds all right, because I think the thing is, and it was a friend of mine that really kind of made me think about it, because we scan from left to right, having screens up and below is a bit unnatural. You're sort of like, you know, you're going up and down rather than left to right. So with the ultra wide one, you can scan from left to right. It's so much better.
Cool. I haven't been through anything except the pound yet. Have you got anything you want to get off your back straight away?
Well, the FTSE is likely to rally today, and it's already kind of taken off a little bit. I've kind of had my trade, so I may not get back into it. But let me show you. Can I show you? I will show you, but I think any pullbacks will likely be bought up today. So there is money to be made in the FTSE. It's already edging higher and breaking out of an area, and I think it's going to get back to the highs. It's not my approach to go in again. So I might not need to. Let me just quickly get on this.
You got 224s, Lewis? I've got 224s in front of me, but then I've got a laptop screen there, a 21-inch screen there, and another laptop there. So yeah, I'm all over the shop.
Yeah, 224s. That sounds like enough too. I mean, you just get used to what you get used to, don't you?
Yeah, look, whatever you're comfortable with at the end of the day.
There we go. Right,
I mean, you know, I'm not trading at the moment. Like, I continue on the smaller time frames, and really I don't need them at the moment. But when I am trading on the smaller time frames, absolutely I need them. Right,
here we go. Let's get into this one as well. So what we've got really, and it looks to me. Hold on, let me just make sure I can share screen before I start talking. Got it. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do this. Let's do and should be able to just do this. So now the question is whether it just shares a window, which it looks like it does, which is cool. So
yep, that's the FTSE.
This is the FTSE, yeah. So we're kind of looking back at the FTSE, and you can see here that the FTSE looks to me like this daily pivot is the area to get in at. But you can see that here we've got a little trend line kind of going on, and we already tried to break out above the trend line. Now I got in down here because of this little touch here, and ended up taking profit already. But I think this is going today, so I don't think the opportunity's gone by any stretch. I find it difficult when I see a trade that I can take again, and I sit on my hands, and I will sit on my hands, because, as I say, that's just not my approach. My approach is to make the money for the day and not think about it, because obviously nobody knows what's really going to happen. So if this was to go wrong and it starts to come down, then I've got my day thinking about the market and what I'm going to do next, rather than having a day where I don't have this on my mind, which is the way I like it. But that's the point. It's the way you like it. I mean, it's not a rule. It's not a compulsory thing. It's whatever fits your profile, right? Yeah, because the thing is, mate, I always think that this is really not about the money per se. I mean, the money is the byproduct of good habits. And good habits to me is kind of, you know, defining what you're going to do day on day and sticking to it. So I do think this is going higher, and I think that the signals are really strong, and I think that this is probably going to get up to this area up here. I think this is probably going, you know, potentially quite a way today. I mean, we're looking at 75.45. We're currently at 74.93. So there's, you know, potentially another 1% to the upside on the FTSE today. So I you know, if I hadn't traded, I suppose that's the point. If I hadn't traded already and made the money, then I would be getting in around about the daily pivot, or maybe a test of this area, because I think this is going higher. But as I say, you know, that's just not my way. So this is really for you guys. If you want to see if you can try and make some money today, then obviously not financial advice, but the FTSE would be the way that I would be going, and I would be buying the FTSE at these points. We did have obviously news from the United States, which looks like a pretty strong labour market, and that does put the 0.5 rate hike back on the table in March, which is not necessarily going to be that positive for the US markets. And, you know, looking at those markets, we saw the US do what everybody was expecting it to do, which is fail at this point. But this is the big questionable area. Does that mean that we've hit that high and we're coming down? Or does it mean that we do what I think we probably will do, which is use this area as a test point and then start moving higher? You know, I think that I think this area is a higher low, and this is always the question of, when you look at markets, is does the area become a higher low, or is this the new high, and then as soon as it retraces back up, this becomes a lower high? And I think this is the you know, one of the bases of all the questions in markets. Which one do you go for? This one, or do you go for this one? Well, in some respects, the sensible thing to do is try and get in when it does come down the first time, and try and take your first profit, you know, when it comes and test the area. And if it comes back and stops you out, no big deal, because you've made your half. But if you want to try and hold on to something, you know, if you're trying to get into more an investment kind of strategy, then you'd probably have to start looking at different time. Well, you'd have to start looking at different time frames. This is the 4 hour. So this is telling you one thing. But what are the longer term time frames telling you? Let's take this away with a clean. Let's get rid of these pivots. Actually, I don't know if I can get rid of that. Let's delete that. Delete that, and see what these are telling us. So when you look at this on the longer term time frame, so this is the daily. The daily looks like a higher low here. You know, that hasn't touched that area up there, hasn't touched resistance on the dailies, and it might even be where I think it's probably going to go, making a right shoulder here, hasn't touched that. So that makes it look like a higher low here. What's the weekly telling us? Weekly is telling us that this is a hold. And we are effectively bashing away, you know, at this lower area. Strong bar to the upside, negative looking bar here, but really you'd have to sort of like look at this price point and say we're in a bit of a range here on the price of the weekly.
Yeah, it's the only chart I don't like. That's a go to the pub chart, that one.
Yes, it is, mate. Yeah, absolutely right. And I suppose this is the other question, isn't it? You have to kind of ask yourself, do I even want to get involved when I see this kind of thing? And the answer for the American market right now would be no for me, because in truth, I want to sell it. I don't want to buy it here. You know, I'm not interested in the upside. Fundamentals are pretty poor for particularly the Nasdaq. We've got the Fed coming out in March. That suggests
that Facebook story continues to fester, doesn't it? It's not getting any better.
I mean, you know, I looked a little bit further into that. I mean, the amount of money the guy lost in that one session was astonishing. And maybe it doesn't touch the size for him. I don't know, but it sounds like a massive number to me. So
I don't think he would have slept too well that night, I've got to say.
No, absolutely not. Well, I mean, aside from anything else, his business is failing. You know, regardless of the money he's lost, his business is failing.
That's currently. Indeed. And that's a sure sign.
Yes, it is. and so that'd be the same for the S&P. This is the monthly. Now, when you look at them, when I look at the monthly, what I see on the monthly effectively is a trend, and the trend is saying there's a low, there's a higher low. This again is a higher low. So at this stage, you have to start looking at the monthly and say, I mean, there's probably one here as well. When you look at the monthly, you have to say that the structure has not been broken down. So the structure is actually still to the upside at this stage. So the monthly, in some respects, only tells us that we have a buy zone. The question then comes in: do we have the other time frame suggesting that we're going to buy at this buy zone, or we're going to expect or anticipate the buy zone to break? And as I say, that's when we start going, well, weekly's not particularly good. Daily to me looks like a higher low, so I think that's okay. And then when you start going down to the other time frames, then you're really looking at a different strategy. So difficult one with the Nasdaq, mate. And it looks like as I say, it could well get a boost here. Looking at things like gold and silver, similar sort of thing. And you have to look at this stuff because this is also telling you how the market is feeling about the Fed and the Fed rate hikes and stuff. If those rate hikes do transpire and we do get the 0.5, the likelihood is bond yields go up, and bond yields going up is not good for gold. And I can also tell you that by the time we get to March, seasonally, gold is pretty poor. So we don't have long to get any kind of rally out of gold. And it looks like it's going to be stuck in this range. And if it's stuck in this range by March, interest is going to wane.
Yeah, interesting. Big double top still there, mate, on the monthly chart.
Yeah. So that's where we're at, mate. Anyway, so that's the rundown from me. I see George is in the room, so I guess we should get to him and see what he's got to say for the market as well.
How are you guys
George.
doing? You guys good?
Yes, mate. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Doing absolutely well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I was just telling Jeff. I've got my system, and with my system, I can now connect my ultra wide monitor. And we were just talking about what sort of setups we have. What do you use, George? Are you a one screen kind of guy, or have you got multiple monitors?
So when I'm at the one of these offices that I rent every now and then, I've just got my 2 laptops. But when I'm working from home, man, I've got the full Monty. I've got 6 screens. I really feel like I'm running the world. You know what I mean? I'm a 6-screen kind of guy.
Yeah, Simpson had 6 screens too, I think.
This is the thing, you see, George. This is what I was saying as well. Is that it used to be the case that I'd have 4, 5 screens sort of running, but they were stacked on top of each other. And I spoke to a friend and he said, you know what, but people don't look like that. You scan from left to right. So really you want screens that kind of are broad rather than stacked on top of each other. And I thought, actually, that makes a lot of sense. So I've just changed my setup to get this ultra wide one in instead. And so far, I mean, it's only been a day, but I'm really liking it. Really liking it.
It's like 8:15 in the morning, mate. You haven't had much time.
No, I haven't. No,
Well,
but the information seems nicer to read.
It's beautiful. Yeah, in my uninformed days, I thought that was the way to go. So I had this whole. I think you could run a space shuttle from this thing built up by the computer guys. Only to realize now I can actually just work off my laptop. But when I'm at home, I like to fire it all up, man. And the server is going, the air, it's just beautiful. Just really makes me feel so clever.
Yeah. Especially when somebody walks in and says, how do you manage to focus on that? And in the background, you're thinking, I don't. I'm only focusing on this little one, but the rest looks good. Yeah.
Oh, the lonely life of a trader.
Well, that's why we're all in here.
That's why trading buddies exist, exactly.
Who's giving powers today? I don't know who's giving.
Oh, that'd be me.
Jeff's the king today.
Sorry,
got
man.
224, 2 by 24s, which I think is also pretty good. I mean, that sounds like a pretty wide setup.
No,
That's not meant to happen.
no. Don't stop that. Just give me the.
It started
okay,
again.
good.
I don't know why that does that.
The mistakes we make by giving either Jeff or I
You're
any
giving
kind of
powers
power.
away. Well, here's the big news for at the end of last week when I was just looking at my markets. I've been waiting forever for my broker to put cryptos
Wow.
on the multi-account that I trade. Now it's finally there. And I've always decided that and I only want to trade 7 markets because I can kind of manage that amount of things at any time. So what goes? So in with Bitcoin, out with crude oil, and the reasoning is pretty simple. I look back over the past 6 months, I've hardly taken any trades on crude oil. It just hasn't set up the way I like to trade. So I've had to sacrifice it, and I'm starting to see if I can get my mind around the pricing and the way Bitcoin trades. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We actually looked at this exact chart on Thursday because there was a certain person in the room who will remain nameless, but he's got the initials Paul Bottrell, was telling me about, wanted my opinion of this chart because there's a classic slingshot candle pattern set up there. And I said, I wouldn't like to trade it yet because I don't, well, it's a few reasons. I don't know Bitcoin to start with, but I have no idea at that point whether it's going up or down, frankly. But guess what?
Gone up. So
the slingshot candle pattern worked to perfection.
Yeah.
So I'm like you. I'm going to start looking at it.
Are you going to start looking at it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite fascinating that, I've always said to guys, you can put up any chart, right? And your price action patterns should be the same. The only thing that you then have to worry about is how do I price this thing? Do I get the right calculator? So if I take 1% risk, doesn't turn up to be like 5% or whatever it may be. That's really the education for me, which tools I can use to make sure I'm pricing things correctly. Everything else, I'll have to learn as I go along, right? In terms of what it does, but the price action patterns should be the same. I mean, if you just look at the things we always talk about, 3 push pattern, there's a wedge, you look for a failed breakout, then you start to look for higher lows. I mean, it's like, wow, okay. There it goes, setting up quite nicely. So what I'm looking for now, that's good. That's a good sign, but there's no ways I'm jumping in. I want to see if we get that gap closed. Now, obviously, that will be 5 minutes. If that gap is closed and we get a bounce off here, then I will be looking to go long.
You get some wild rides on your 5-minute chart there, mate.
If you're following this pattern, it's pretty slow because now, I mean, I got to just keep coming back and looking to see if it gets down here.
Just a quick heads up as well, George. What we were looking at previously, because Bitcoin used to be on my broker as well, and you'd see a lot of these gaps. But because the broker doesn't give you the data, the weekend data, that gap may not be there because the gap is provided from Friday to Monday, whereas Bitcoin's open on over the weekend. So actually, the price movements won't necessarily have created that gap.
Yeah. Okay.
So you need to reference it. What I'm saying is it's worth referencing it on TradingView as well, just to see whether that gap actually exists.
That's a good point. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll definitely do that. So I think the next couple of weeks are learning and not jumping in and doing foolish things. But definitely, I think there will be a lot more opportunities here than I had with crude oil just sitting on my savings.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think really cryptocurrencies are a trader's dream because they are volatile, and you need volatility, don't you? I mean, if that we crave volatility in markets. Too much volatility when you're inexperienced can be really hairy. But for everybody in the room, what you're after is something that's going to move. Unless you're a range trader, like Jeff, who just wants like the little movements, you know. But generally speaking, if you want to try and get on some trends, you need some volatility, and cryptos are the kings for that.
That's exactly, that's what we need, you know, those breakout pullbacks and jump in when it does a few moves, a few candles up. But to your point, Jeff, is pretty slow when you're on the 5 minutes. If you're looking for these patterns, but you just gotta sit.
Yeah, no. What I actually meant was when it does move, it moves in a crazy, like, and that in minutes it can go wild.
That's exactly it. If you miss that, you're gonna come back and say, "Oh man, what happened?" You know?
Yeah. But you can get some really good rides, I would imagine.
Yeah. Back to some common ground for guys. So Euro, I'm looking to go short.
Same here,
I'm gonna wait to get, if price gets up to here today, that would be a beauty, you know, because that's a nice double top there. So I want to see if I can get, if it gets up there on the 5 minutes, look for a nice reversal pattern there. So that means just waiting until we get, that's the high of Friday. So I gotta wait and see if we get up there. There's no point jumping in here and putting a wide stop, because it's just gonna agonize until it gets there. So rather wait for it to get there, which is the double top point. And then if it sets up nicely, bounce, pull back, lower high, take the trade and just hold it as long as you can. And it could be one of those reversal into 2 to 3 days, which give us a nice extraction of wealth.
Right, that double top you see on the daily has got a lot of form in history as well. If you go back to, say, a monthly chart, you'll see how strong that level is.
Okay. Yeah, so that's, I mean, that's definitely kind of adding up, you know, all the stacks we're looking for, right, to make that a pretty strong level of resistance. So it's worth waiting for, guys. I think if you don't get there today, let's wait for it, because if it does give us a setup, we really might have a good opportunity. And the good thing about it, if you're patient and you're able to get that trade and hold it, that trade is one that you really got to try and hold and just see how far it goes. Because in there, you'll get pullbacks where you can get in, close it before the end of the day. But just try and hold that as long as you can and see if we get far. So that for me is really number one in terms of what I'm looking for. Gold.
Again, gold. What is going on with gold?
I mean, with again, this trading range here, I'm saying to myself, you know, ideally, for me, I want to see that's a 50% pullback, 50% of last year's range. So it's kind of creating a tail, but I'm not going to sell here. I would love to sell up where somewhere, but you're selling into a trading range. So if you're selling here, unlike the euro, you've got to be prepared that at the end of the day or into the US session, you might get a bounce and a tail being created. So you want to take a trade and walk away, because you're going to come back and say, oh man, it went that far, but it's pulled back, because it's just a trading range. So if it sets up, you got to watch it, take your trade, be able to watch for the reversal down here and get out. And if you're still in the market and you got time, then take the reversal trade and maybe you'll get a bit of a bounce to another doji for the day. If we do get the bulls coming with strength, which is possible for either 40% of the times, then just wait. If it doesn't bounce off here and it breaks above that, then just wait, you know, pull back, try and get to this descending trend line. So I'm watching it, but it's not as premium and prime as euro at the moment. I'm saying 50 doing nothing. The market is just opened after whatever we closed. So that's like just red news for me. I've got to wait for things to settle and give me more information. UK 100. Again, I'm thinking sell, but where do you sell? Trading range, that's a doji, so you got to wait to get up here. Okay, so I'm not going to sell until I get there. If it bounces off here, I'm still not going to buy, because everything for me is kind of saying the favor is in the bears favor. So I'd rather wait to get up here. So looking to sell, but I've got to wait for bounce. It's a bit of a trading range, but decent enough. Whether I get it today, I doubt it. But at some point, there'll be an attempt by the bulls to break above that and try and get up here. And that in that level, there's resistance, which I want to sell back into the trading range. S&P 500, again, I am looking to sell today, but I want to see a double top of sorts with Friday's high. That's what I'm waiting for. So I'm not selling in the middle of a trading range, just a trading range. If it gets up to here today, I'm definitely going to look for a reversal pattern and sell back into that trading range. How far it will go, we'll have to see. But definitely on my watch list. So Euro, S&P 500, I am definitely looking into. Nikkei 225, I'm doing nothing. I don't like the tightness of the trading range, and I don't want to be selling and then reversing up here. So I'm just going to leave that bit. Bitcoin we spoke about. Let's wait and see what happens. So my prime sell targets Euro and S&P 500. That's what I'm watching like a hawk and waiting.
All right, mate. Happy days. We will catch up with you next Monday.
Yes, sir. And for the guys
And
who
of
love
course,
Wednesdays,
sorry,
we'll
you do your own promo.
GMT 9:30 on Wednesday, guys. We'll catch up then. But thank you for the opportunity, guys. We'll see you.
Yeah,
Cheers,
can
mate.
I ask you just one question, George, before you go?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I notice you're waiting a lot. Do you have any kind of opinion about the weeks during the month? We're in week 2 now. Does week 2 tend to be a difficult week for you? Do you see different things kind of shaping up? The last week seems to be a lot, we get more movement, people are closing positions or whatever else. Do you find week 2 a tricky one, less likely to get the setups you need, or is that something that you just don't really, it doesn't really register?
Let me say it registers very slightly. I hold on to things very lightly.
Yeah.
Actually, week 2 and week 3 tend to be bumper weeks for me. If that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm actually very alert now. Week 2 and week 3, and week 4 is fine. Week 1, I really just want to step back if I can. But
Right.
2 and 3 are good weeks. They really are good weeks. But as a price action trader, I just hold on to that lightly. So I don't come in with a buy, say, my goodness, it's going to happen. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm just a little bit more, I want to be more in the market this week, less of my other admin and coaching and other stuff. I want to be in the market.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think it's worth mentioning because it's one of those things that as we try and build as traders and we're always trying to analyze our performance and our behavior, people might find it's this stuff is the time that you're more likely to make money. And as I say, that this is really about stacking good behaviors more than anything else. And if you've stacked a good behavior and say, I only really want to trade week 2 and 3, I analyze week 1, then you might be better off rather than just wanting to charge in every single time.
Yeah, because I mean, your week 1, the last month is gone. So for me, I really want to pick up those key levels of support and resistance of the monthlies. I have to get those right. So week 1 is a big focus on that, and then these 2, depending on 3 or 4 or 5, but these intermediate weeks, I really want to focus. Even these are when I do the long days, right? I mean, the Asian session, European, American sessions. These are my drive months, my drive weeks.
Yeah. Grand. Well, it'd be interesting to see how everything turns out with trading the cryptocurrencies, mate. We'll listen to that with interest next week. See how you got on.
Yes. Yeah. Let's definitely do that. It's going to be fun.
Cool, man. All right. Have a great week, George.
Sorry, mate. Are you any closer to doing the US session?
So the US session, I do it regularly, Jeff. Let me see if I'm answering the correct question. So what I trade consistently every day without necessarily looking for, the setups I look on the daily, the US session, S&P 500 only, I'm in there irrespective of what I'm seeing on the daily. So that's my bread and butter. I'm very happy to go in, take couple of hour trades or take long trades. But every evening, I'm in there at least 6 hours in the US session without fail, because it suits quite well with my time frame. It opens 3:30 p.m. my time. Even if I do my school run, pick up my daughter, etc., an hour later, which is an hour into the session, I'm back at home settled and I can sit there for 6 hours. So every day, irrespective of what the setup is, I'm in the US session.
Happy days. Sorry, that wasn't the question. The question was,
I thought as much. What's the
you're
question?
going to share these sessions with us at some stage. Is that right? Is that still happening?
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Why am I always answering wrong questions? Because it's a Monday.
Okay. It was actually a good lead into what you're going to say now.
I think the announcement should be coming pretty soon, where we're going to be trading, long sessions, middle of the week, but it's coming soon out of the office with Paul. So cool. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Awesome, mate.
Keeping
Thank
everyone
you.
on the edge of their seats, but it's coming.
Mate, I'm not sure I can stay awake that long, but wouldn't mind it. Wouldn't mind it. That'd be good. Have a good week, mate.
All right. Cheers. Take care, guys. Ash, take
See you soon, George.
Cheers. Enjoy the screen, man.
Oh, loving it. Loving it.
Cheers.
See you, mate.
Okay,
go on, mate.
Go.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I am loving the screen, but one of the reasons I thought it'd be amazing is because I've started watching the Book of Boba Fett on Disney Plus, but the aspect ratio that they've filmed it in isn't wide enough for the screen, so I'm not getting the full kind of cinematic picture. I don't know if anybody knows I can change that.
Son of a gun.
Yeah.
Why am I'm seeing George's screen still? Must be a delay on YouTube.
Oh yeah, no, it's you, mate. It's on you. Euro dollar, right?
Okay, euro dollar. Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize the point that George was making on euro dollar. I think this is a superb level to find a short here. I don't know that I'm going to, but just this level, it's so pronounced as a resistance area, and we've come back underneath it again. It's now being tested for a second time in as many months as resistance, and I expect to find a trade short here at some stage. It does look like it might want to go into range here, and that's fine. I don't care. But
well, Lagarde, I think, gave the market.
What did she actually say to move it? It had a stellar 2 days.
Yeah, because she's after going on this tact of inflation's transitory, we're not going to be moving. We don't really need to do anything. There was all of a sudden this kind of hint of actually, you know what? Maybe we might reassess our monetary policy and see whether we might need to do something. So it wasn't like an absolute about turn, but it was more the fact that she'd been really, really dovish, and all of a sudden she wasn't really, really dovish. So inevitably the euro does get a pop, and the reason it was going to get a pop is that the euro has been so heavily sold off that anything that kind of drives a more hawkish tone is going to suggest that the euro is probably undervalued. So the pops in the euro, I think, are they've increased their likelihood because of that, because it is in a buy zone, and the market's just been waiting for her to give them a reason to buy.
Yeah, I don't know that it was in a buy zone, frankly. Maybe the buy zone was down here somewhere.
Yeah, well, there's a trend line, isn't there, going from June? Do you know the more interesting one? Right at the bottom of your screen there. Yeah, that one.
Here.
Yeah.
Well, you probably got it up here, haven't you?
Yeah, I think there is one there. But you know, the more interesting one actually was the euro pound. Euro dollar
don't talk
less.
to me.
What's
I was waiting to get long this thing for all this time.
Yeah.
And I said last week that, or the week before last, that this broadening pattern was suggesting we're going to come to the bottom, and that's where I want to pick this thing up. But mind you, getting in that and staying in that might have been a bit tricky. Having a look at that candle. I've got no idea how that formed. But yeah, it looks like there was a bit of take out some stops before it went.
Well, this is what I'm saying, mate. When you kind of get down to these lower levels, it doesn't take a lot for everybody to just flip positions, and they're going to do it fast. You know, this is not one of those kind of areas of a market that you really get an opportunity for nice, gentle pullbacks. You're either on board or you're not, and I think it's a slightly different approach. But I think it's one of those things that everybody needs to be aware that when you are at these lows, because it was a significant low, I think, on the euro pound because of this taking so many months. You know, it was really the range after Brexit. And when you kind of get these particular levels, then these types of things are much more likely to happen, where you're not going to get the opportunity to you know, take a higher low or something. You just got to put your entries above probably negative bars and see if you get taken in and see if you can ride it. So I think recognizing where recognizing market conditions when you're formulating strategies, I think is you know, one of those things that that needs to be considered.
I was 1, 2, 3 weeks early, but yeah, getting your stop in the right place there was going to be really, really tough to get that move.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show, mate. Yet again, you know, news makes moves, and this is just evidence of it.
Yep.
She talks, the market pops.
True story. You know, even if you had this in your mind, where the hell are you going to put your stop?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Here somewhere, and you're going to get burned.
The only way I could see you getting into that is the previous negative bar, you know, just before the first big green bar. The only way that I could see getting into that is a buy stop at the high of that that kind of range. There's sort of 3 bars in that range, if you like. But was this a whipsaw, or did they sell off before they bought? I don't know. Oh, good point. Yeah, good point. They probably did sell off. You could have got run over there very easily, you know. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this is not really for the faint-hearted, and actually, you know, it's a strategy that I'm sure lots of people could have traded. Actually, look at that bar. No, it looks okay. You would have been okay. They sold before they bought. Yeah, they did. Anyway, we'll put that one down to couldn't have done it. Couldn't have done it. No, yeah, couldn't have done it. Too hard. Look, a few things I am looking at based around the euro. Look, I think a retracement back to the breakout level probably still gets me interested here in trading this up to the top of that range, because it was so clear. I mean, the structure was so clear, and it's just a shame that there was no way in. But I think the same could be said of a few other things. Euro Aussie is one of them. That's the monthly chart on Euro Aussie. And that appears to be, to me, to be at a strong sell level. It's been strong resistance for many a year. And once this big spike up in 2020, and then COVID took care of that pretty quickly. And we're now back underneath that. We've hit it once. We've hit it twice. We're now hitting it for a third time. Love to see a false break of resistance here. Now, weekly chart would be fine, but we're going to have to wait a long time for that. Daily chart. Yeah, the only thing I see there on the daily, unless it gets above this monthly trend line, is probably a false break off that one. So could get under here, get under the pivots, retest. That would work for me. 4-hour chart. Don't see anything there for me on the 4-hour chart. I don't even see a reversal pattern. If I saw a double top, or indeed gone now, but if there was a bearish engulfing by evening star, any of those traditional reversal patterns followed by a lower high, then it gets interesting. But I don't see an entry here anytime soon. This just got to get back up to here now. Give us a double top, then a lower high. So we're probably looking at the daily chart come Thursday, maybe Thursday, Friday. But I'll certainly be looking for that should it raise its head. Aussie Yen is a tricky one for me, but I do like it. I just need the right signal here. Now, I've been bearish this because I think price can come down to here before it goes in its next direction. We've had a hint of that 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of selling.
And then we got last week where we got, for whatever reason, a little bit of a rally, but only to last month's monthly pivot, which is interesting, and came off that. Now, it's also presented us with a break and retest, not on that chart, but on this chart. The daily charts also provide us with a break and retest, last Monday. That is probably still in play. Yet, the only thing I can go by right now is twofold. And this is where the uncertainty comes for me. I can see a classic slingshot candle pattern sitting there. It's a little bit below the resistance trade line. And that's why I wouldn't be taking this trade at the moment, because we've got to trade into that level, which is strong support, means strong resistance as well. If I go back in time, you can see that the market has reacted off that a few times. So it's impossible for me to go long right now. But should it break and retest that level, different story. At the moment, I've got a structure that's been false broken, or so it would appear. A lot of false breaks on this structure, and probably I could take the highs up a little bit if I so chose. So it could be there. And that actually looks a whole lot better than it did when it was down here, but it's valid. You know, we've got a high here, high here, high here, high here. So it looks like a false break of the top of that rectangle, which leads me to look for a lower high in here somewhere. There's one currently forming. Whether it's tradable or not from a reward to risk point of view is debatable. You've got about 30 pips of risk. It's not too bad. 19 pips of reward down to the weekly pivot where you'd want to take profit. So I'd be okay with that. I want to see a green body here, though. I don't want to see a red body. A green body to about there would make perfect sense to me to go short underneath that bar. So tomorrow, won't get tomorrow. That's a 4-hour candle. Tomorrow, yeah, it won't look as good. Won't look as good. So the 4-hour chart would be my preference. We've got what's the time? An hour and 13 minutes before that closes. I want to see a red body. This is ideal, right? If it gives me ideal, I'd be surprised. But any red body here, as long as it's not closing, can't close up there, obviously. Any green body, sorry, it can close up there. That would make it impossible to trade. It's got to be an indecisive bar, high test bar, if you like, but green body to there, I would look to trade it underneath there. If you're in my Telegram group, I will post that if it does occur. Euro pound we've spoken about, euro dollar we've spoken about, cable we've spoken about, pound yen I haven't spoken about. Pound yen's another one that has got a nice structure to it. And if I go to the monthly chart, again, you can see this strong level, which is 155.74. Where's price at the moment? $155.74. No, 155.83. So it's very close to it. At the moment, we're above it. So that leads me to the next point. Now that nice ascending triangle, ABC, look at that. Let me get rid of that. So we've got a bit of a double top here. We've potentially got a lower high forming, but trading that into here doesn't make sense to me. There's a little range form there. You have to be very, very risk abled to be able to trade that, and I'm not. So I'd much prefer to see a bounce off here, if you like, even price down to here, bounce off it, hit the top or the underside of that 155.74 level or thereabouts, then give me the lower high. Then I'd be happy to trade short. I'd, depending on what candle was presented there, I'd probably like to take profit at last or at the monthly pivot before I let it go further. There is a trend line going through there as well, which may give us a little bit of assistance in terms of confluence, but that's what I'd like to see. Down to the weekly pivot, give me a reversal bar off there, and then I'd look to trade it short. I think that's about me at the moment. There were two weekly game changer bars, Euro Pound and Kiwi Swissy. I haven't discussed Kiwi Swissy. And there it is. Those pending orders, that's the pound. Let me get rid of that. So Kiwi Swissy, I still want to know why the Kiwi has been so disdain or in disdain. Nobody wants it. I think that could change. You can see the range that we've been in and how it's impossible for me to go long at this point. But something like this, break here, break the monthly pivot, come back and retest either or, both of those things would be good. Then I think there's probably a long on here. Best case scenario, as always, for me to trade it long would be off support. So if it came down to here, got back above the pivots and retested it, then I think that's your entry there. Better than this one, of course, because you get more out of it. But I'm a little bit keen on Kiwi Swiss long, probably because we're at a support level, but I don't know why. Right at this moment, I can't give you a good reason why, except that structure's got to break down at some stage. So preference is to come back here and get a long off the support line. The other one, Euro Pound, was spoken about, sadly, and there is, and I've been avoiding this like the plague, there is a game changer plus bar this week, and it is dollar yen. Now, those of you who've got no idea what I'm talking about with the game changer plus bar, it is a candle or bar, if you like, whose low is a new low based on the previous or the preceding week, and closes on or near its high, which is what this one has done. So the next one, the next bar after that, or next candle after that, was last week's candle, which is an inside bar. When I see that combination, it gives me instant alert that I now need to check where the primary trend is. So I go and have a look at where the primary trend is. And the primary trend appears to have changed from short to long or bearish to bullish. We are now getting higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. Haven't yet got a higher low, which is a bit spooky, but we have broken out of this range. We've retested that range. And the scary part, apart from the fact that what I've just said, is this level here. And it's dollar yen. So to trade that for me, apart from the fact that I hate dollar yen, is I've got to enter there, I've got to put my stop loss there, which gives me about 155 pips of risk for, it's just over a third, which is okay. It kind of falls within my trade plan. But can I convince myself to take it is the question. Let me go back to the dollar index and see if I can answer that question. Dollar index, we spoke of, or we speak about it every day that we're on air, but last week we were contemplating, or I was contemplating, that this area here would be a bounce point. That proved not to be the case, as Thursday's bar, for whatever reason, drove price down to the bottom of our range. That's not a bad thing, that's a good thing, because that gives us a clear indication as to what may or may not happen next. The next candles are supremely important, of course, when we do hit those support and resistance areas. So we are right now below this huge confluence area where we've had a broken resistance trade line come off the top of our channel at a strong resistance level. We're now at the bottom of our channel, and we have retested this strong horizontal level, which is in confluence with a support trade line, the resistance trade line, and the bottom of our channel. So this is an area that we really, really need to pay attention with, because that level there, see, it's been support, been support, been support, been support, been resistance here. So it is a level that the market likes. I think there's a good case for you to wait and see what happens here. But I also see that we've broken down here. We've retested that level. It's a prick. I nearly swore. It's a bugger of a, I wasn't going to say that either. I was going to say something far more substantial. This is a damned rotten candle to want to trade because it's got tails on both sides. Spinning top candles are really, really difficult prospects. So you could take that on as a short if you have a very, very strong appetite for risk and get some money in the bank before you hit that level. If this was to go short, I don't know that it can go much further than that really without a bit of a bounce. But I'm of the opinion that I'd rather wait until it got back above this level, if it does, and retest it. I think that's your buying opportunity, if indeed it is there. So as far as the game changer bar is concerned on US dollar yen, I think it's valid, but I think it's early. That's my problem. I want to see a little bit of selling first and then go long. That's kind of where I'm at, I think. The break and retest doesn't work for me here because I'm still going to have to trade into that high. If it took the high out and that horizontal level, then different story. But it's really, really tough to go long here. Smaller time frames, 4-hour chart, yes, I think it's possible. But I don't see an entry there at the moment, unless, of course, you're willing to trade into the highs and there is a bit of a breakout slingshot scenario there right now. If it goes, look, I'll say, yep, it proved itself again, the candle pattern, but I just can't trade it. I can't trade here. It's just not the right thing for me to do. So, mates, good old dollar yen is presenting me once again with a dilemma. And when that's the case, it's a very easy decision for me to make when it is dollar yen, just do nothing.
Yeah, I think what I'm saying, the FTSE took a bit of a dive to the downside and it's right back up now to the daily pivot, which is kind of suggesting that it's waiting for something. And I've just seen that Christine Lagarde is out at 10:45 UK, and I wonder whether the market might need to just hear what she's got to say. Anything dovish from Christine Lagarde will probably push these equities higher. Anything hawkish may leave it in this this little range. The FTSE still looked pretty positive, it has to be said, but this is, I suppose, case in point. With if you make your money to sort of trying to go back in, can be tricky. But you know, there has been a buying opportunity, and if you've managed to get in and you're flat, then I would now consider whether you might be waiting for a couple of hours before you're going to get some genuine movement here. I don't really know what she's due to state, but considering what happened with the euro last week, maybe all eyes are on Christine Lagarde, and they are, you know, maybe now everybody's waiting to hear what she's got to say, and that's after that we might start to see some genuine movement. The other possibility is that we are in a bit of a slump because the market doesn't really know what to do about the dollar, and you know, the whole thing orbits around the dollar in many respects. Because, as you say, you know, we've moved to the downside. We are definitely at a support level. Does that support level hold? I would have thought it should, but there's always a chance. I suppose it doesn't. And you know, this is the decision really that everybody has to make is probably more about the dollar than anything else. Because if you think the dollar is going to be weak, then you can start to look at things like gold and silver. Gold and silver are probably both at potential resistance areas, while the dollar is at the support line. If you think the Fed are going to be raising by 0.5, I'm not sure why you'd be selling the dollar. That's for sure. Yeah. But it might just be just a little bit of a relief rally in the other products until we actually
there is a case for this. There is a case for it to come down a little bit further, as I said.
Yes, before. There is, mate. Yeah, there is, and maybe that's the point that everybody starts to. So, you know, we'll say, you know what, from here I can take a punt on what the Fed are going to say, but maybe this is too high for people to want to take a punt on that. I think that's a genuine possibility.
Yeah, look, if nothing else, it's a clear false break of that resistance trade line. If nothing else, and it's, you know, it's almost a pip perfect retest. If I was trading this chart and I can't trade this chart because I don't know how to, because it's got weird configurations,
Yeah.
hasn't it? I
Yeah.
don't know what a dollar value is here, frankly. I must learn because I want to trade this chart.
See you soon, sweet.
I would look to trade this. See, sweet.
Yeah.
Because it is there.
Well, I suppose this is the thing, mate, isn't it? If you're looking to trade this on certain messaging, then you can actually then flip to something which is dollar denominated instead.
Yeah, I've tried to look at that.
Yeah.
But it brings me back to euro dollar long, and I don't want to trade that long.
Well, certainly before Christine Lagarde is out, I think that would be very dangerous anyway. You know, so
maybe Aussie dollars to go.
Difficult one at this stage, mate. As I say, that the FTSE's looking keen, but it has already had a bit of a spooky dive to the downside. So I wonder whether we're waiting for that. Difficult to know. It's having a little try again to the highs again. So I don't know. Messaging looks good to me. I mean, the messaging looks bullish. The price action looks a bit scary, but I think it's one of those that you can probably get in and hold on to it and just expect that you might need just slightly wider stops if you're going to be getting into it today, because it looks a little bit slightly tetchy and a little bit tenuous, but certainly the overall direction for equities looks good, which brings you back to that dollar yen. I can't see why the yen would rally off the back of that.
Well, market sentiment has to change for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not 100% sure where that is right now, to be honest.
No, which is why we sit on our hands sometimes, don't we? And just say, like, okay, well, let's let the information that we need to see or hear pass, and see if the opportunity is still there after it's passed. And it should be. You know, that thing when Christine Lagarde came out and the euro all of a sudden just rocketed to the upside, they're quite rare. And we always sort of like worry that we're not going to get on board unless we get in early, but that's not really the case. We can wait. There's plenty of opportunities, after the event, where there are still really good trades that exist. So 10:45, looking about an hour and a half away, mate. It
will be interesting to see exactly how the market does react to her follow-up. So
yeah, exactly.
For mine, until it comes out, I'm a bear.
Yeah.
But we'll see after that exactly what happens. I would say if there is an opportunity to get short this and she doesn't get a big follow through, then that's where I'd be headed. In fact, this is Euro Aussie I'm looking at, not Euro dollar. We used to have a thing called Trade of the Week, and I think that was a little bit misleading. So maybe we should have a pair of the week, Ash.
Yeah.
Rather than because, the trades may not set up.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then, you can have complete egg on your face, and they can not set up for 100 different reasons, not the least of which would be what Christine Lagarde's about to say.
Yeah.
But my pair of the week is Euro Aussie, and I'm looking for shorts, but I won't trade it until she has spoken and I get the right signal. So that.
Well, do you know, mate? I mean, we're talking about Christine Lagarde today, but we got a bumper Thursday. CPI data from the United States. Then Bank of England Governor Bailey speaks, and then RBA Governor Lowe speaks. So Thursday looks to be the day that you're going to get the kind of the moves either trading into those announcements or
that would be my preference.
Trading into the announcements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be free trading come Thursday. That would be good.
Well, everybody's going to be wanting to see that CPI data come down, aren't they? Because if the CPI data comes down, expectation will then be 0.25% interest rate hike. If they see that inflation data hold steady or even worse, start to climb, I think the 0.5 is going to be back on the table. So that looks interesting, and that also starts to put into perspective the potential and possibility of trading that dollar, because as you say, mate, comes down that little bit further. I think people take a punt on the upside on the CPI data from this particular point.
Yep.
Difficult to know whether this is cheap enough, isn't it?
It's tough. It really is tough. All
Yeah.
I can do is go by what the chart's telling me, and the chart's
I mean,
telling me that
yeah.
we're at a big confluence area, and it will move from here. I've got no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And these are the areas where you really want to pick up a trade if it's available, because this won't move in a little fashion. Once it comes off this level, it'll go hard. But
downside before that CPI release would be quite useful, though, right? Because, as I say,
Yeah.
I think if it comes down and nestles on that lower line, then the chance to get a trade long is on, because I think at that point people are like, okay, well, let's take a punt. Let's take a punt, because you should get some movement before that release then, and then and be able to get pretty much free trading. So a bit of downside here would be really handy, just to kind of meet that horizontal level.
maybe that's our play. All right, I'll learn how to trade the dollar index, so it doesn't cost me $5 million for 4 pips.
Yeah. Yeah, we can always trade the euro.
Yeah, but it's not there. I can't trade the euro.
No, well, maybe, yeah. I'd only really look at the dollar index for a bit of messaging. A bit like the VIX. I wouldn't really want to kind of get involved in the VIX, but it's quite useful for a bit of messaging on what to do with the S&P.
So the euro is telling me exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
the euro needs to come down before it goes long, and that's in complete contrast.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, so you're really looking for a hold here with the euro. Yeah, tricky one, mate. I feel what you're saying. I mean, not discarding as well, the pound might be a play, because Bailey out on Thursday, Boris Johnson is still walking a very, very fine line. So there's possibly some movement from that as well. But,
Lagarde might just give us exactly what we need here.
Yes, she might. Yeah, certainly for the day.
Yep. She might provide exactly what we're looking for here in the technical setup. We shall see. Okay. I think we're done, bud.
Cool, good stuff. All right, mate. Nice one. Then we will be back on Thursday. And
all right.
Everybody have a good week.
Do you think you come up with 5 questions?
Oh, is John not there this week? Is he?
No, won't be in on Thursday.
Oh yeah, mate. I'll give you some 5. I'll be able to come up with 5 questions.
All right, I'll come up with 5 as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll try something. What was I going to say? Well, I might talk to you on Skype about a bit of an idea about the questions. Cool. I was going to quickly say, if anybody did have anything they want us to look at, then maybe you should put it in now. I mean, we're a bit later than I realised. But if nobody has, then we'll all right, mate. Let's leave it here. I'll speak to you on Skype in 5 minutes.
All right, mate. I've got a meeting shortly after that, so no drama. I can fit that in too easy. I'll just go and get
no worries.
A cuppa. See you in 5.
No worries. All right, see you in 5. All right, I'll just type it. We don't have to speak necessarily on live. I can type it if you want.
All right, happy days.
All right,
everyone else, thank you for being our trading buddies, and we'll try and come up with some questions to match John's flair.
Yes.
Yeah. But I won't be playing any instruments, I can assure. Well, no, I won't be. That's official. All right. Have a great week, everyone. Look forward to catching up on Thursday. Thanks for being our trading buddies. Bye-bye for now.